If you have a horrible inner critic, welcome to this video. This video is exactly what you need. By the end of this video, you will know how to completely alter the inner critic in your head. And this isn't just theory, it is something that I literally practice myself whenever I'm overanalyzing, overthinking for a long period of time. I will pick my pen up and literally create a new future for myself. And so by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to do it. Welcome to or back to my channel, Self Love Lexi. Having an inner critic is genuinely no joke. It can ruin your life because people don't understand the power of your own thoughts, especially the way that you speak about yourself. But your thoughts play a part in it. There's a study done a while ago. I don't really know the name. I'm not familiar with the name, but I am familiar with the concept in itself. This man brought an empty cardboard box and put it under his bed, and every single day he would rack up emotion and thoughts that this box was scary. Again, remember, he placed the empty box underneath his bed. Eventually, he actually got scared of the own box, and he wasn't just saying that because he wanted to actually see if it was working. So he put the box there knowing nothing was in it, and he genuinely was scared of the box because of how much negative thoughts and scary thoughts and emotions that he riled up when he would see this box. Our thoughts are so powerful. We have around 6,200 thoughts per day. Older, widely shared estimates claim that we had around 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, but those older figures were based on guesswork rather than hard scientific measurements. Still, 6,000 thoughts a day is still a large amount of thoughts per day, and a lot of the times, Dr. Joe Dispenza actually said this, we have the same thoughts on repeat. You are living in the same thoughts, therefore same emotions, therefore same state every single day. So, that is the main thing with the thoughts. And like always, guys, I have my notes here. I find it easier when I have my notes in front of me so I can be on point for us, okay? So this is, again, something I genuinely do. But when that voice is tearing you apart, understand it's not true. We have 6,000 minimum thoughts a day. Not all of your thoughts are going to be real. Not all of them are going to be true. And I actually saw this video of this girl. She was basically saying, I think of my inner critic like a man. So whenever it's talking to me, I just tell it to shut up. I just thought that was so funny. For myself, I don't have a specific persona that I give my negative thoughts, even though that seems to help a lot of people. But in the beginning, when I had really, 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 really negative thoughts, this is what I would say. I became to an understanding that my thoughts were, in a way, creating my reality. And so whenever I had a negative thought, I'd ask myself, do I want that to be my reality? And if not, I would change my damn thought. For example, my mother and I went to test drive a car today. And on the way there, she kept saying, I just don't want to be late. Maybe it's going to take so long to test drive a car. And I was like, do you want that to be your reality? She said, no. I'm like, okay, so how about we just think that it's going to be quick and efficient and easy? And that's exactly what it was. Quick, efficient, and easy. So it's not the worst thing ever to think that bad things are going to happen. But here's the thing. It doesn't do anything for you because we think that when we think bad things, we're planning ahead. We're preparing ourselves for the outcome. But preparation and expectations is results. You literally get the results that you most likely expect to get. So we're not doing that over here. It's an old script. If you have the same thoughts on repeat, which most people do, especially if you're self-conscious about a part of you or something that you do, you most likely have the same thoughts on loop. You inherited and have been reading the same script of thoughts for years. So if it's a script that you have about yourself, it can entirely be rewritten. And most of the times, the script that we have about ourselves don't actually come from us. They come from maybe a bully. They come from an old friend. They come from a parent. They come from a caregiver that kind of programmed insecurity or doubt and limiting beliefs onto us. So we can actually re-script that entirely. Today, I'll walk you through the exact way that I rescripted my own life. So just to give you kind of like a backstory of who I was severely insecure. If you asked me to name one thing I liked about myself, I genuinely couldn't. Now I like pretty much everything about myself. And I say pretty much because obviously I have days where I don't like myself as much, but all in all, I love myself. Like, for example, when I'm on my period, I often feel a little bloated, but that's just a normal thing. That's a normal human thing. So I love myself all in all, and no matter what, I'm confident. No matter what, I would never choose to be a different person. I'm so grateful that God gifted me this beautiful body, beautiful mind, beautiful soul. I do have my days, like everybody else. So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, so I'll walk you through the exact way. Again, past me, I was extremely insecure. I had severe social anxiety. I was always in my head. It was like the worst thing to be in my head, so much so that I always wanted to do something. I always needed like company. I needed to go out because otherwise I would be stuck in my own head, and it was the worst place to be, believe me. So, point 1, the mind. Scripting how you think. A lot of my frameworks, especially in my coaching, which also you can apply for a link in my bio, that's a little thing. So if you want to figure out the root of the broke relationship with yourself for free, go to the link of my bio of my YouTube, and you can access my stand store, or you can access my website in general, which is Self-Love Lexi, www.selflovelexi.org. So you can go check it out there. I have a bunch of different things on there, like my coaching, my courses, the free quiz that you can take, and yeah, so much more. Let's get back into the video. So the first thing I rewrite is how I want to think in the moment. So when I just started doing this, by the way, I have like so many freaking journals that I write out who I want to be. And I also have a Notion template that I use where if I want to revamp my life, revamp my identity, step into the version of myself that feels more aligned, I can have it right in front of me. And so when I'm actually writing, this is what I wanted to say. One of the best things that I could do for my identity is to see it in front of me, because I used to manifest everything. 369 method was literally my baby. When I tell you the amount of things I manifested when I was younger, it was insane. I couldn't even tell people about it because I just would have been looked at like I was crazy. I finally had people in my life witness what I was manifesting, and they were like, it doesn't make logical sense. Exactly. It doesn't. It works. So the reason why I understand, because I studied psychology, neuroscience, metaphysics, a bunch of kind of things that I'm just like fascinated by and I study regardless, I understand that when you write something consistently and you put yourself in the emotion of already receiving it. So for example, when you're manifesting, you always write in the present moment with gratitude, right? Because you are putting yourself in the moment, in the emotion of already receiving what you're manifesting. And so when you do that throughout the day, 369, you're really imprinting what you want, first of all, and second, how you feel. And your heart has the biggest magnetic frequency of your entire being. I think it's like 2-3 times more than your body, I think, than your something like that. This is actually scientifically proven, by the way. I'm not insane. I just don't know the exact thing. But I know your heart has the biggest magnetic field of you entirely. Even in the Bible, guard your heart because everything flows from it. God created our heart first. There's so many different things that kind of go back to how important our heart is. And when you think of heart, you think of an emotion, right? Right. So, okay, when I messed up, the inner critic jumps in fast with, you always do this, what's wrong with you? Or something that was really big for me was insecurity. So when I was first starting to kind of re-script my whole life, I knew that I wanted to be confident. And so I had to take a really honest look at where I was now. So for example, if I had an interaction with a stranger, I would leave blushing and rethinking the whole interaction in my head, calling myself dumb and stupid for saying what I said, wishing that I had never talked to them, wishing that it had been a different conversation, wishing I had said a different thing. Like, it was just genuinely so difficult to be in my head, because then after, if I saw the same person, I would literally avoid them. I would think about these thoughts at 3 a.m. I'd be woken up with literally dreams about being socially awkward. It was really intense for me. So what I started doing is I started scripting this new version of myself where I would have a socially awkward interaction, and instead of after overthinking it for hours and being embarrassed to talk to them again, I laughed about it and I let it go. And the first time after I scripted, it actually happened in my real life. And I remember this, I was in high school and this girl was complimenting me on something, and like I didn't respond quick enough. I was just like awkward, which I really was awkward in high school. And instead of doing what I would normally do, overthinking it, I laughed it off. And that was the first moment that I was like, oh my gosh, this works. And it happened with so many different things in my life. So for example, another thing that really proved that I was awkward and insecure was the lack of eye contact that I could make with people. I could not make eye contact to save my life. I don't know what it was, but the confident version of me that I wrote down maintained eye contact. She would, if she saw a man in public that she maybe thought was cute, instead of looking away automatically, she would slowly gaze, look at him, maintain eye contact, and then look away, which was absurd for me to do. I would never have done that. Also, in the context of just talking to somebody, maintaining eye contact, and everyone tells you your eyes are the portal to your soul. And so now even today, when I'm having a conversation with somebody and they're unable to keep eye contact with me, I naturally just have a feeling of distrust towards that person. And my mom, who works in the corporate world, told me this when I was very young. So I knew it was important to be able to hold eye contact. So again, I finally wrote this down. Okay, I can hold eye contact with people. In fact, I make it a mission to do so. And then I started to kind of push myself with eye contact. When I was young, lots of grown men would stare at me. And because I was so uncomfortable, and cut off a little bit there, but because I was so awkward and uncomfortable and insecure, I was never able to kind of stand up for myself in that manner. Like, I'm telling you guys, I would be walking in the mall and I would see full-on men with their children and their wives, and it would make me extremely uncomfortable, but I never had the balls to do anything. When I finally started scripting this new version of myself who was extremely confident and didn't care what people thought, and that I was able to hold eye contact, all of a sudden, this new version of me popped out of nowhere. I was able to hold eye contact with people and make them uncomfortable as they were making me. And it was only men that I did this to, because I'm telling you, I would be stared at by these men. And so instead of like being shy and unable to look at them, I would stare at them until they looked away first. I love doing this for some reason. It honestly gave me a power trip as a little girl. I know that's not the best to say, but coming from somebody who is so extremely insecure that I would just feel uncomfortable in situations and not have the confidence to do anything about it, to this woman, or I was still a child, but to this child who had the confidence to stare you right back in the eyes to the point where you looked away first, that gave me such a good freaking feeling, guys. And sometimes I'd even ask, what are you looking at? Which I know is a little controversial, guys. When I started to become this confident version, I was like feisty. I was rude. All this pent-up energy came out of me, and I was finally able to set boundaries and hold my ground, and I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. What woman wants to feel uncomfortable? So instead, I kind of got a joy out of making men uncomfortable who were making me uncomfortable. I'm not saying do that. I'm just trying to show you the contrast of what this has actually helped me with. Again, since then, I have reiterated my self-concept so many times to the point where, like, I don't really engage in that anymore. I can hold eye contact, but I don't do it to make other people uncomfortable. And instead of being mad when men look at me, I kind of just, like, I don't know. It depends. It honestly depends. If it's a creepy man, like, I might be just going to stand up for myself. But a lot of times, men love beauty, and I know I'm beautiful. So I don't get upset, if that makes any sense to you. That was a whole tangent that I just went on. But, again, I was just trying to show you the difference between who I was and who I am now. So, yeah. Eye contact, the way I walked was crazy when I was scripting. So I used to walk, I'm very tall. I don't know if you guys know this, you may not. I'm 20 years old and I'm 5'11", damn near 6 foot, and I love my height. I would not trade it for the world. In fact, this girl wears heels, okay? I wear heels. I love my height. I would never do that to myself, but that is exactly what I did when I was younger. Mind you, I'm in like middle school, high school, with a bunch of men who were shorter than me. I was called giraffe. I was bullied and picked on for my height. So I was a little insecure about my height. But one thing that I knew that I did was shrug my shoulders and walk with a lack of confidence. And so when I'm scripting this new version of myself, I was like, no, this is what I was born with. You know, I went through so many stages in my life where I realized radical self-acceptance is necessary to self-love. And so I'm tall. What am I going to do? Get like a surgery to shorten my legs, which is what I literally wanted when I was younger? No, I'm not going to do that. God gave me this height for a reason, okay? God gave me this height for a reason. I am blessed with height, and that's what I truly believe now because of this scripting. Thank you, Lord. So I went from somebody who would walk into rooms, literally shrinking myself, to fully expanding my body. Like, if you know me now, people know me for confidence. One of the first compliments I get from people, I don't like that that's in the frame. One of the first compliments I get from people is, wow, you're so confident, because it's just something that oozes out of me. I walk tall, straight, head back, shoulders back. I make eye contact with people. I don't rush what I'm saying. I don't overly apologize. I don't overly explain why I'm just existing. I just exist. And I take up space. I'm not afraid to cross my legs. I'm not afraid to put my arms out. I'm not afraid to say something in a room. Obviously, yeah. But you understand the point I'm trying to make here. The difference is insane. So, yeah, this forces you to be so honest with yourself about where you were and where you want to be. And you can see it on a screen. And what's so good about that is the awareness that it brings. So next time, for example, say you're wanting to be more confident. Next time, you have written out what the confident version of you looks, sounds, talks, walks like. So when you're ever in a situation where you would resort to the insecure version of you, you now have that level of awareness of, you don't know. This confident version of me would do X and Y. So instead of doing A and B, I'm going to do X and Y. And you can kind of play with it a little bit. You can kind of like adjust it and have fun with this new confident version of yourself. So there's someone walking. That's why I'm like looking. So why does this work? I kind of briefly explained it, but your inner critic is a habit that you've developed. It's a habit that most of us have developed, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. This inner critic is here for our survival. The sole purpose for your ego essentially is survival. And so when the inner critic is saying things like, oh, they're judging you, understand it's coming from a place of, I just want to be accepted. Who doesn't? People will say that they don't care about being accepted, but it's literally biologically programmed into every single human being to be liked. So understand that your inner critic is not out to harm you. When you kind of look at it in a lens of it's trying to protect me, you can feel a little more empathy for the inner critic. And what I used to think helped was like being mean to the inner critic. It was telling me that I was doing something wrong and I'd say, shut up. That isn't helping. Instead, the way I approach my inner critic now is, I know you're just trying to protect me and I love you for that, but that's not really helping me in this situation. And I know you talk to yourself like that. I hug myself, girl. I hug myself. I tell myself I'm the best thing. I tell myself I love myself, that I'm beautiful, that I'm smart, that I'm capable of everything I want in this world. Because you are the only person who's going to actually say these things to you. You're the only person who you can only control your mouth and your thoughts. You cannot control anybody else's mouth, anyone else's thoughts. When my worth came from other people, I needed other people to validate. I'm speaking so quickly. Deep breath. I needed other people to validate me in that aspect. And when you tie your worth to external resources like that, you're always in lack of, you're always in need of that validation. But when you can just give it to yourself, girl, your life will change. Your life will genuinely change. So I tell myself all the things that I need. I buy myself flowers. I tell myself I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, and I'm capable of everything, because I'm my biggest cheerleader and everyone should be their own biggest cheerleaders. So again, take the aspect of you that you kind of want to improve, whether it be social anxiety, confidence. It could even be your thoughts about money. If you're always thinking money doesn't grow on trees, money is the root of evil, you can kind of re-script these new thoughts in your head that will actually get you further to your goal. And then when you are faced with a situation where you would normally go to the other thought, you can now have awareness of the new script and resort to the new script. And eventually that will become the reoccurring script in your head. So scripting new thoughts lays down a new path, a new thought forms, which also create new connections in your brain. Oh, neuroplasticity, my friends, neuroplasticity. Since we're on the path of scripting, now that we understand how to script the mind, which is basically just your thought patterns and re-scripting how you would want to think about it instead, next is the body. This is, I don't have a favorite. Actually, my last is probably my favorite, the soul. But the body is just as important as the mind. So let's get straight into it. Next, I script my body. It's not about hating where I am and fantasizing about where I want to be. It's truly accepting myself, but seeing how I would approach myself in a different way. So it's writing about a woman who truly loves and treats her body well. For example, something that I did when I just kind of started scripting is I had a really, really bad relationship with food. You guys might not know this. I haven't really talked about this on my channel, but to be so honest, I had an eating disorder. I had body dysmorphia. Because I was so insecure about my body, I stopped eating at one point in my life, to the point where I couldn't even have snacks on my birthday. I would eat ice as a snack. I was skipping meals. I was like doing obscene amount of crunches in my bed because just how much I hated myself. My hair was falling out. It was intense for me. My body was the epitome of my worth, and I really struggled with how I looked to other people and myself. So at this moment, this is when I started to find kind of scripting and manifestation. I was reframing my thoughts, but I realized the habits that I was holding with myself, over exercising, under eating, I would punish myself if I had a snack or even proper food. I was weighing myself every single day and punishing myself if I went over a certain point. It was not healthy for a teenager at all. And I kind of became aware of that, and then that's when I started to script new things for my body. For example, I did script like physical appearance. Something that I had really wanted was a bigger butt. Yeah, manifestation works. I'm not even kidding though. I genuinely do have big glutes. And it is because I work out a lot and I eat a lot of protein, but manifestation genuinely is insane. I don't really talk about manifestation on here, but guys, I have manifested bigger glutes. I have manifested jobs, partners, opportunities, random money, my hair growing, my hair being thicker. I've just manifested insane things. Anyways, we don't really talk about that right now. So this is when you want to get so detailed about your life. Like, how does she move? Again, we're talking about the confidence aspect. Does she walk into the room with her shoulders slouched or shoulders back, and she walks with her head up, and she makes eye contact? How does she treat her body? Does she binge at night? Does she suppress eating? Or does she allow herself whatever she wants? Or is she on a strict diet? Or is she only eating whole foods? Or is she only eating whole foods but having a snack on Saturday and Sunday night? Like, you genuinely get to create whatever the flip you want. Have fun with it. Make it your dream girl. Like, a lot of people love to do skims and kind of make their dream person, but this is your opportunity to create that within you. Write down your goals, what you want to achieve. What time does she wake up? How much water does she drink? What does she eat on a daily basis? What are her standards in a relationship? How does she treat and love her body? Does she have coffee or tea or matcha? These things genuinely will give you a different perspective of yourself, a whole new identity. That's why I love doing it. So how does she move? How she feeds herself? How she speaks about the body she lives in? So for example, what I like to do when I was scripting in the beginning is I would give myself scenarios that I had been in myself. So for example, one thing that I used to do always in the morning when I was getting changed is I was used to look in the mirror and I used to squish my stomach and like pretend to like flatten it and cut it off to like see what I would look like if I was even skinnier than I already was. And this new version of myself didn't do that. She didn't. She looked in the mirror and she was thankful for the body that she had right now. When you're grateful for the present moment, that does not mean that you don't have future goals for yourself. It just means that you're allowing yourself to be in the moment and be grateful for what you already have, which inevitably will give you better things in the future. When you're grateful for the money that you have right now, do you think that God is going to take away the money you have? No, you're going to get more of it. It's like, for example, say you're giving your best friend a gift. Maybe you get her flowers and she's like, I don't really like those flowers. Are you gonna get her more flowers? Probably not. Versus, oh my God, thank you so much. These are great flowers. By the way, these are my favorite ones, but I'm so grateful you even thought about buying me flowers. Which one is going to land better for you? Which version of that is going to make you want to buy that girl more flowers? This is the same in dating. This is one thing that I actually taught my sister. When a man provides for you anything, such as opening the door, giving you a compliment, always praise what you want more of. That is human psychology. Praising works way better than punishment. But the best punishment is silence. Anyways, that is not what we're talking about here. Back on track. So I'm describing the woman who's already home in her body. When she wakes up, she looks in the mirror and she says, thank you, God, for this body. Thank you that I'm able to breathe and I'm able to see and I'm able to move and touch and feel. All of it. Your body keeps a score of your self-relationship. Oh, let me show you this book. This is an extremely good book. Honestly, it's a little on the harder to read side. I was reading it at night, but I needed more brain power, so I started to read it in the morning instead. It is really good for understanding how emotions actually get trapped inside of your body. Yes, I said it. Emotions literally get trapped inside of your body. It is not just something that you can kind of talk out. Sometimes that helps, but a lot of the times your nervous system is holding on to the past trauma that you have. So that's why we have visceral reactions. That's why you need to open your hips sometimes and shake and move and release. But maintaining the body point, how is your discipline? Actually, something interesting that happened today was I got home for like a little shopping with my mother. We picked up a charcuterie board. We're doing wine night with a couple of our friends, and so we picked up a charcuterie board and some wine, and we went to test drive cars and we went grocery shopping and we got Starbucks. And while I love going shopping with my mama, I was really exhausted for some reason, very, very tired, and I knew I needed to record a YouTube video, but I just wanted to flop on my bed and scroll. That is all I wanted to do. But I had brought awareness to my habit of scrolling, and I realized the version of me that I know I'm meant to be does not scroll. She doesn't scroll on social media, at least consistently the way I've been doing it. Absolutely not. So I had to like clock my own stuff, or at least be honest with myself. And so even though I really did not want to record this video, I kind of force myself to do it because the version of me is disciplined. The version of me that has everything now is extremely disciplined with her goals. And so again, even though I didn't want to, I still did it. And now I'm loving this. Like, I'm feeling energy. I'm feeling excitement for this video. So it definitely goes to show how insane scripting is. Next one. Yeah, so script the version of you who cares for your body, who loves your body. How do you speak to your body on a daily basis? And one thing that I found interesting, that I genuinely love, is the more respect you have for yourself, naturally, the more people respect you. So when I was super insecure, and you could tell I was insecure because the way I was people pleasing, I'd overly apologize. I'd like little subtle body language gives away a lot. Now I love reading body language. I just like pick up on this tiniest things, the shift of tone, the way your feet are facing when you're speaking to me, your hand gestures, your tonality. I literally pick it all up. And that is because I studied confidence for a while, and I understood like how leaders were facing the world and how leaders carried themselves. I really found it fascinating. So I started to study that, and I started to kind of move through the world in that way. And a subtle shift that I noticed, especially at high school, when I was super insecure, people-pleasing, lack of boundaries, when I was in the hallway, it was like I was invisible. I would be pushed into, and it wasn't done on purpose. But all of a sudden, when I unlocked this new version of myself who was extremely confident, and I walked with confidence, I walked with my head up, maintaining eye contact, all of this, and I know how cringy this sounds, believe me, but it's true. It was like when I was walking, people would just like merge out for me. And I was so aware of it because that was the first time I ever felt like people were moving out of my way, and I was genuinely confused. But I realized I started respecting myself, not only in my own head, but the way I carried myself showed self-respect. And naturally, people, when you respect yourself, people want to respect you as well. You know, a bully will never bully somebody who doesn't care to be bullied. That's not why a bully is bullying. A bully is bullying to get the reaction. And such a cool thing with scripting is scripting comes first and action comes after. You will genuinely notice the way that you script your life to be, you will start to take aligned action in that area. Last one, this is my favorite one, is your soul. Scripting who you are day to day. So this is where it all comes together. We now have the mind, how you're thinking about yourself. We have the body, how you're treating yourself. And we have the soul, who you are to your core. Now, I don't even know how to explain this. Have you ever seen somebody walk into a room and all of their eyes go into that person, and they just carry themselves with such confidence and such grace? When I was in high school, I started to become obsessed with people like that, looking at their body language, how they spoke to themselves, how they carried themselves. And there was one moment where I was walking into a class called foods class, and this girl came up to me and she said, I don't know if you've noticed, but every time you enter a room, people's eyes can't help but dart towards you. And I remember this to this day because it was something that I was so impacted by. I was like, what? Me? I had been studying these women because I just found it fascinating. And through studying them, I had become one of those people. And you can laugh at that. You can call it cringy. I genuinely don't really care. I hear something. I don't really care because to this day I notice it. Every time I enter somewhere, eyes, boom. It's just what happens. But like it's not, I'm not cocky about it. There's also an element of vibration and frequency in the way I carry myself and the way I perceive the world in such a positive lens. When you're a light, it's going to distract people who are used to darkness, if that makes sense. So for my soul, what do I actually do every single day? What are my rhythms? What are my habits? How do I pursue life? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve? Who I am to the core of me, right? So this is where you can bust out, like, was a pivotal point in my life as well, because I got to look at my extreme goals. And when you don't know your goals or where you're headed in life, focus on the emotion you want to feel. I'm sure you don't want to feel broke. I'm sure you don't want to feel mistreated. I'm sure you don't want to feel judged. I'm sure you don't want to feel unhappy. I'm sure you want to feel abundant and joyful and grateful in life. And so when you start to focus on those emotions, naturally opportunities or naturally certain goals will come into your life. So for example, when I didn't know what the F I wanted, I focused on abundance. And when I was focusing on the feeling of abundance, all of a sudden these terms like financial freedom or generational wealth or passive income started to flow into my brain. Obviously, like through the feed, through my social media, through books that I was reading. Naturally, I'd obtain these terms, and I was like, yeah, that is what I want. I want passive income. I want generational wealth. I want to travel, and I want freedom, right? So when you focus on certain emotions, naturally, certain terms that can kind of lead you to that emotion will start coming to you, or certain experiences. For example, another one was freedom, that I really wanted to access freedom. And when I was really focusing on that term freedom, I had a bunch of moments where I realized I can do whatever I want right now. And I would go on a walk outside, or like, I would just remember I have free will, and I'd go on a walk. And when I was focusing on freedom, new terms came to mind: financial freedom, location freedom, time freedom. And I realized that is what I want. So when you focus on a specific emotion, naturally certain terms will kind of show up, and so you can move towards the terms instead. And then Second base, we're thinking about passive income. Well, now that I'm focused on passive income and I have the emotion behind it of freedom and abundance, now that I'm focusing on this term of passive income, I'm starting to see opportunities that can generate me passive income. And naturally, I move towards those. And so as you can see, it's kind of like a climbing part where if you don't know what you want here, you can start at the emotion that you want to feel. Okay. So yeah, from my soul, I script what I do every single day. I am not even kidding. On Notion, I have a full thing. I actually want to show you. Let me just show you guys super quickly. Log into me. Self-love Lexi. I named my self-love Lexi. About me profile, it's literally called Alter Ego. And I have my own name, everything. Because Marilyn Monroe, if you don't know Marilyn Monroe, you would literally, she would tap into what she wants to be. So, I don't know if I actually want to show you guys, but it's like this full. So I decided I'm actually not going to show you, but I have this full page of my whole day. For example, I wake up at the same time every day. I wake up in the most comfortable bed with the most cozy sheets. When I wake up, I take a second to and I have my whole day running through the beginning of my day to the very end as I'm getting in bed in my comfortable, silky PJs. My whole day is planned out. And that is the soul, because when I'm writing this, I'm feeling all sorts of emotions. I'm tapping into the emotion, the frequency, the vibration of the person who already is experiencing those experiences. And when doing so, I naturally obtain these different mindset shifts and these different opportunities that come towards me, or ways to get to what I want. So that is such a cool thing with your soul. And it also allowed me to learn a lot about myself, because without journaling about my soul, I would never understand who I am and where I want to be. I remember the first time I got asked, "Who are you?" And the whole thing of not your name, not where you come from, all of that. And I was genuinely lost. Now when someone asks me, "Who am I kind of sound like a hippie, but I'm like, I am everything and nothing. Like, I am a goddess. I am creation. I am love. I am light." And I have so many different usages, so many different words to describe who I am besides my name and what I look like. Like, I'm so much more than just my looks. I'm extremely intelligent. I love myself. I'm optimistic. I'm confident. I know where I want to go in my life. I know what I want in my life. I'm so many amazing things, right? And there's always room to improve. There's always room to improve. I'm not perfect in any means. I mess up every single day, but I allow the lessons that I learned in my life, I allow the mess ups in my life to turn into lessons. Anyways, getting off track as usual. What her morning looks like, what she makes time for, what lights her up. So I'm not waiting to feel like this person someday. I'm literally scripting her soul and becoming her. And now one thing that I do want to flag, because I've done this myself, I have scripted somebody that I want to be, but it wasn't authentic. This is when authenticity comes to play, because naturally we are certain people. Just as an example, my sister is very playful. She's almost like, she has like a childlike energy to her. And for me, I'm a little more bold and a little more resilient. And we know this about each other. And not one is good or bad. They're just different. And I sometimes have moments where I tap into my playful energy and my playful side. She has moments where she taps into her resilient side. But naturally, we're just separate in that way. But if I completely altered my personality to only be playful, the natural gift of resilience and independence that I was birthed with would kind of be shoved away. So one of my favorite things to do is take the qualities that you already have, the characteristics that you already have, that you might even hate, and shed love and light onto them to amplify them. That's something that we do in shadow work as well, because all the times shadow work is essentially bringing what you don't like to surface, what you don't like that's in the dark to the light. Because I had this whole scenario, I had this whole kind of visual explanation of shadow work, but that's for a different video. Just know that it will literally change your life. Shadow work will genuinely change your life completely. So yeah, you're not waiting to live like her someday. You are living as her right now. And the magic of doing all three, mind, body, and soul, you align yourself with that person in every single area. That's why I love taking mind, body, soul to my coaching, because I will literally help you at mind level, body level, and soul level to truly and unconditionally love yourself, no matter what you're going through. Issues with confidence, issues with boundaries, daddy issues, social anxiety, it doesn't matter. I will help you at all three levels to truly access the best version of yourself. So I match the vibration of somebody who's already in that state, because I'm literally creating the emotion within myself and having a visceral reaction. Sometimes I'll be smiling, I'll be laughing, I'll be like giddy, because I'm entering that state now. You don't force yourself into the life that you want. You become the person who already has it. That is like one of the prime keys to manifestation. So next time your inner critic gets loud, don't argue with it. Love it and overwrite it. Genuinely, the next time that you're overthinking, overanalyzing, having an inner critic, whatever it is, pick up a pen and script out the new narrative of your life. And I promise you, it will literally change your life. You're always writing, I do have notes here. You're always writing your story, whether you realize it or not. So write one you actually want to live. That's a bar, write that down. You will get the reference. Anyways, again, just a reminder, if you want to figure out the roots of the broken relationship with yourself for free, go to the link in my bio, access my website, selflovelexi.org, and you can see the free quiz root finder there. Any other videos that you want me to make, please drop them in the comments. I read every single comment. And love yourself as much as I love you. Wow.